We are returning to the Valley Out of Time in this video. I already took a look at Welcome to the Valley, the first zine from Skeeter Green Productions, compatible with DCC RPG and MCC RPG. And check out that video if you haven't seen it. This is a series of zine-size adventures from SGP. This valley can be placed in any ongoing campaign and is set in the Neanderthal period of development. Huge monsters, both dinosaurs and otherwise, and devolved humanoids plague the area, and only the hardiest of adventurers will prevail. So, I will be taking a look at the second one, Exploring the Valley. And the cover is not as good as the first one. That's kind of disappointing, but all well and good. Never judge a book by its cover. I'll be spoiling this, and I'll have a link down in the description if you want to pick it up. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Once again, Skeeter Green did this. A bunch of people that helped work on it. And this is kind of all the same, but it's going to tell you a little bit here about what you need for this part 2 of the series. It's going to be about 4 or 6 characters of levels 2 to 4. And then what it's going to have in the beginning is a couple of encounters that you can just kind of add into your campaign while you explore the valley. The first one is called A More Human Element. The party during their travels is going to spot a humanoid in the distance. It's a normal, dark-skinned human, and it looks to be female. And so they're going to follow it for a while, so kind of intrigued by the figure. She's a little bit further away than they can really get some good detail on her. But she seems to be heading out of the deep jungle and more into a kind of grasslands area, which is interesting to have a nice change of scenery. Waist-high grass, huge individual trees dotting the landscape, and so very nice. I've got some cool art here because what's going to happen is there's going to be an enormous drumahen, a giant bison, a true paragon of the valley species, crest a shallow basin the characters had not noticed in the waves of grassland. The beast is gargantuan, and while not immediately hostile, its appearance is a startling turn of events. The characters have a few moments staring eye to belly with the massive bovine towering above them. If they do not move, the drumahen ignores them, sniffing the wind for some unseen threat. If the characters initiate combat, which they probably will, you know how they are, roll initiative and resolve the battle normally. Bison are not typically thought of as hardy foes, but in this valley, the drumahen and all creatures, great and small, are dangerous opponents. So then what's going to happen is the lone figure that they saw is going to be part of a hunting band. They are 6 Hama Zakarans, ermine proto-humans probing the jungle perimeter looking for easy prey. They're also going to attack the beast. So now you've got kind of like 2 parties fighting this massive bison. You got the stats here for this huge creature, and then you've got the stats for these ermines here. And there's some interesting dynamics here of what you're going to do should you start to attack them as well, or let them have the, if they're able to take it down, let them take care of the kind of dissecting of the creature as they start to get their loot from it. And you could possibly run afoul with them, or maybe have a chance to set up some communication with them. So interesting little big combat there that you're going to have. And the next one's going to be called a catastrophe in the grasslands. And what's going to happen here is they're going to be a Pecthara, a giant saber-toothed cat. And what's going to happen is they're going to kind of see it over a cliff. And it looks like it's playing with something that's recently killed. There's a lot of blood and stuff. And what's going to happen is it's going to notice the PCs, and it's going to come bounding up the cliffside to come fight. And so now you've got this huge saber-toothed cat hunting you down, and it's going to be a pretty nasty battle. So that's going to be interesting. Here is another one here in which you're going to come across some dung on the ground. And with a couple of DC 13 intelligence checks, you're going to know that it's there's some sort of sound in the distance of the hill, and there will be a 12-foot tall giant owlbear called I guess it's called a Strigozo. 12-foot tall, absolutely monstrous, and it's not very quick, so you may be able to run away, but you know the PCs, you know your players, they're probably going to want to take some weapons to this thing and kill it. So now the majority of this book is this. There's some new monsters. So we've got that piece of art. It tells you all about them. There's these things called gorge giant sturges, which I always like a good sturge. So we've got those, and then it's going to explain a little bit, about what they're about. There's Naga, these huge snakes. The royal cap, a giant fungus. Again, we have our giant owlbear. I like the art here. It's pretty good. And then we've got the ermines, telling you more about how these proto-humans that inhabit the Timeless Valley, what they're all about. Some cool art right there. And then we have these random encounter tables. Now, these you're going to use throughout probably your whole campaign. Let's say you're wanting to run a campaign of the Valley Out of Time. This is going to be a clutch issue for you to get because it's got all the random encounter tables here. And then the majority of the rest of the book is going to be these encounter table descriptions. So it's going to tell you where they can be found. So it's either Welcome to the Valley, Exploring the Valley, Dungeon Crawl Classics, or the Mutant Crawl Classics core rulebook. Now, when I was looking through this, it's got some neat art, and it's got a lot of creatures in it. It's almost like pretty much this is like a bestiary, fanzine here. But as I was reading it, you can see that it actually ties into the Timeless Valley. I thought it was just going to be their stats, and that's it. But here you can see, it says, these massive cattle are seen in roaming herds all over the Timeless Valley. A stampede of these beasts is a terrifying sight. So it does bring it back to the Timeless Valley, which was something that I was very happy to see, because this could have been just kind of phoned in and you just give the stats and a brief description of what they are, but it does tell you more about it here, such as these beast things. And again, this has got the symbol that tells me it's in Mutant Crawl Classics. These beings are another of the degenerate races constantly warring for survival with the other races and beasts of the Timeless Valley. So very cool. So we've got a beast thing champion. We've got a carnivorous ape right here. So those are always fun to throw around, a lot of apes and whatnot. We've got a cyclops. We've got dinosaurs. So you roll a dinosaur, and then you're going to roll up what type dinosaur it is, all the way up to the T-Rex, which you probably do not want to run across. We have the dire wolf. We have the giant bison again. We have devils, ant-men, it says. These irritating insect men congregate over carrion and old kills from other beasts. They are aggressive around their food and implanted eggs. Ant-men encountered in the hive include drone workers. So we've got normal ant-men and then the drones. We've got elephants, and there was one I'm going to make sure I spotlight because it has a pretty cool stuff. There's a extra-dimensional analog here, pretty much a duplicate set of adventures from another dimension. This is found in Mutant Crawl Classics, and then you're going to roll up exactly kind of what they're all about. They could be future analog identical to a character, but aged 6D 20 years, potentially far beyond normal human limits based on the nature of time in the alien plane. Mental attributes are much more advanced. So some neat stuff there to roll up, pretty much a duplicate set of your adventures. We've got giant ants, we've got giant bats, of course you gotta have those, a whole bunch of different beetles and stuff that you may come across, armored, fire, flying, saber-toothed, spiny, spitting, and stag. So watch out for them. I always like fighting beetles. Giant centipedes, they're gonna burrow, of course. We've got giant land leeches, giant lizards, scorpions. This is one that was cool. These giant monstrosities are grassland hunters and carrion scavengers. One appears within an hour of a kill of any large beast. So just that little addition there, that sentence is already going to give them some flavor here in the Valley Out of Time, which, again, that's good. Giant spiders, giant wasps. Again, these larger type of normal animals that we know, but then some stranger stuff, such as that gorge, the giant sturge. There's a hydra. There is a hill giant, manicore, naga, the piranha bat, rot slime. So again, you can see tons of creatures here. Subhumans, ermine group, erminoid groups, wyverns. And then we have this section here called the Timeless Valley. And, they kind of say, like, why is the Timeless Valley here? And they say the judge needs to integrate as much or as little background as necessary to keep the players interested in the area. Here at SGP, Skeeter Green Productions, we think the valley is ripe for exploration, conquest, or just plain killing new critters. Whatever motivates the players and keeps the campaign going is why it's here. However, if you would like a possibility of why the valley is here, who made it, and other details, continue, gentle reader. And here is a story of how it got created. It has to do with some druids, a lot of power that's invested in the valley here. It's a great little read just to give you a little background history of how it got created. But if you want to come up with your own, that's what you should do. But this is good if you don't want to do that, just to have this kind of background setting. It may not even have anything to do with what's going on currently in the Timeless Valley, just a bit of history on how it was formed. And a little spot there for GM notes, which I don't know if I'd ever write in my book, but you never know. Some people I know have done that. They write all over their books, and I just can't deal with that. So there is The Valley Out of Time, Exploring the Valley. A neat book if you definitely want to add a bunch of creatures to your Valley Out of Time. campaign or adventure. This has got everything you need to know about them. Be able to roll them up in the different encounter tables here from jungle, grassland, and hills. Very valuable product for that. So there it is, Valley Out of Time, exploring the valley. Thanks a lot.